Text has a boldness that allows it to work well as an anchor, but we can safely replace it with symbols or elements that share those characteristics. In each of the examples I showed you, the symbols were black. I've changed the piece symbols to blue, and the change is massive. Those symbols no longer have the weight that they once did. Your eyes so easily drift to the earth, and the earth begins to seem heavy on the canvas, with nothing to balance it out. It needs something heavy, but this blue isn't heavy enough. There will be other situations when blue is the perfect anchor. Whatever we use to balance the image of the earth, it must be heavier, and that text is no longer heavier than the image of the earth. In this image, I've lightened the picture of the earth, and that has reduced its weight. In doing this, the piece symbols become heavy enough to hold the composition together. It isn't a case that black always works better. Black is the heaviest of anchors. Sometimes you need that level of weight, and at other times you don't need to be that excessive. If one area of your canvas is really heavy and the other areas are too light, then the viewer will look intently at the heavy areas and ignore all the subtle aspects of your image. So we know that an anchor is heavier the darker that it is. We lightened the earth and immediately it became less heavy. What else gives an anchor weight? Your anchor will be heavier if it is in contrast to the other parts of the image. When I strip the image of color, those piece symbols stand out more because they're the only part of the canvas that contains color. Those blue symbols stand out on a canvas that is mainly grey. Although grey and blue are close companions, a bigger contrast would be red and grey. In this image, the red really stands out on the canvas. The piece symbols are heavier because the contrast is larger. Another way to add weight to a particular part of the canvas is to add texture. You can add texture to key areas, and it will make those areas heavier. Also, areas that are high in detail will have more weight than areas that are low in detail. Every element on the canvas anchors something else, and this is how a composition works as an overall piece. It is a process of constantly looking at your image, looking at each element and seeing what needs anchoring. Another way of thinking about this is to see the canvas as a solar system. Each element is a planet. Large planets have more weight and gravity, and they pull towards them the other elements on the canvas. Every element has its own weight and gravity, which attracts everything else on the canvas. A painting is like a solar system. Everything interacts with everything else. It is necessary to have the pull of one side of the canvas to be equal to the other. A large planet might need to be balanced by 5 smaller planets, just as a large red circle might need to be balanced by 5 smaller circles. It's about balancing everything on the canvas and finding a point of unity where each element is in harmony with the others.